is awkward.
My Twitch setup.
Go.
Dude, well, thanks for joining. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. John had rave reviews about the experience, and then I had to take a listen to a couple. So it's yeah, great.
I like when you messaged me, I was so confused. I was like, what? I was like, who? What? Like,
Okay, there's a lot of Johns. Maybe I should have specified.
Yeah, well, I remember. I mean, I caught on, but I was just so because you sent that to me when I was at work, and I was like, what the fuck is he talking about? I was so confused.
In my mind, it makes sense. In my mind, when I listen to a podcast, the whole world listens at the exact same time. So it's like, oh yeah, Charlie, the guy that was just being talked about by John.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. Oh man, I have a couple of these like stacked up, and I did John's, and I did my friend John, or I did John's, and then I did my friend Steven's in the same day. So
Yeah.
it's like I was like, wait, who? Like, what? I was like, because I'm also like editing. I have a couple that I've been editing, so it's like I'm re-listening to other podcasts. So I'm just like downloading this information into my brain just constantly. Oh my god! But anyways, how are you? It's awesome. I don't know who the hell you even are in the world, and I feel so bad. But thank you for being here. I really appreciate it.
That's precisely one of the reasons why I wanted to be here. No, it's one of the reasons why I enjoy it. See, I know there's a lot of it's easy to like say, okay, I'm going to interview people that are like famous or that they have a specific thing they're trying to promote, because that's all it ends up being sometimes when it's like, you have people making the rounds on podcasts or shows or whatever. It's like, oh, they're trying to promote something. And often it's not really the same kind of authentic conversation that you have when you're like at a show and then you just bump into someone at the bar and then you're just talking for hours and hours. And it's like, wow, that was just the deepest, most insightful conversation I've ever had. Okay, maybe I'm setting the expectations too high for this, but you know what I mean? Those are those are the real conversations. Yeah.
No, honestly, like when I had this idea of doing this podcast, I was like, I want it to be like, I want to talk to people, that like others have no idea who they are, because it's like you do something like, obviously you play guitar. There's a guitar right behind you, and only people of your circle know who you are, know what you do. And so my whole concept of what I wanted to do was I just wanted to fucking talk to musicians. Like, it's not because I don't have access to talking to anyone that has like massive success, because I do have friends that are in that field that are down to do this, but I thought about it, and it's like, it's so much more fun to talk to people at my level, and or even a little bit farther along than I am, or even people that are still getting started or want to get started. I just thought it's just a lot more fun that way. It's a lot more maybe relatable kind of thing.
There's so much out there, so much, whether it's knowledge and wisdom or it's just like the freshness of ideas, things that have not been watered down by, trying to appeal to the masses or, what they've been told by a record label or whatever. I mean, just the actual core of like, why is it that we're all doing this? What made us interested in music in the first place? That can be found whether it's in a famous person or someone that just started to play guitar a couple of days ago or anywhere in between. So yeah, the more diversity of guests you can have, the better. Not just guitar players, but I noticed that you're having the radio hosts, the graphic designers, all of that. It's all part of this idea of, okay, I don't know what to call it. It's just exciting, whatever it is.
It's exciting, yeah. Okay, so
like I don't want to just say it's metal. Like, no, it's just the whole thing. It's not even the genre. It's like everything.
Yeah, like that was my whole because like I have I have a lot of people, like, because the more that I do music stuff, the more tours I go on, the more music that's released or whatever the hell that I'm doing, I get more and more people being like, hey, how do I do this, or how do you do that? And it's like, I only know because I did a lot of research and I asked a lot of questions to a lot of people that I saw doing it, and then I realized if I have friends that want to know, but they don't know who to talk to, then
Mhm.
I'll just give them a person that will tell how it is, and then they could just be like, "Oh, Ryan fucking did an interview with someone that knows how to book shows." Because that episode is coming out, I think Friday or Monday uh with my friend Christopher. He books shows and stuff, and he's a promoter. So I feel like that's a good episode that some people could, find useful, and that's my whole concept is finding something within the music scene. I usually say metal scene because that's just what I'm a part of. But I guess music scene that someone else could be like, oh, you know what, I could become a photographer or videographer or graphic designer.
Mhm.
And I guess like this is a good podcast that kind of like helps bring those, smaller people that are more tangible, because in the event, never gonna happen. But say I only ever had big famous people on the podcast and never had anyone that is at a realistic level of like how to get there, then people are gonna listen to it and then that's it. They'll be inspired, but they'll never actually be like, "Oh, I can do it," because some of these people haven't thought about how they started for so long that they almost kind of forget how they got started. So they just kind of like jump with, "Oh, I did this," and then 4 years later, I did this. When
Mhm.
it's like I could talk to someone that's only been doing it for that 4 years, so they have a shorter time span of explaining all the little things they had to do to get to where they are. Does that make sense?
That makes sense, and it's also it kind of sends the message when you only have famous people. Not that that's not as a bad thing, but
Yeah.
it almost sends the message that that's what success is. And I know there's a lot of people that think like, oh, I'll still, even if I'm not famous, it's still,
Oh no.
I can still have fun with it. But
Yeah.
it's almost like in the back of their minds that is their unwritten goal. Is they think, okay, well, if I want to take this seriously, I'm going to have to do such and such. It's so much different from a lot of other hobbies where, let's say someone on the weekends or afternoons, they like to go hiking or skiing or just like they have something that they spend a lot of time on, but they wouldn't imagine having that be a career. And that's like fun. Whereas with music, I think often people think like, well, like, yeah, my friends listen to this and like I played some shows, I went on the school tours, but there weren't that many people there. I'm not that famous. So they get kind of down after a few years. And it's
Yeah.
like, well, that's just because that's your um I'm like, don't get the wrong idea. I'm not saying you shouldn't have high goals. I'm just saying there's too much, I think, out there telling musicians or artists or whoever, like, if you want to follow your dreams, then you don't have to go to school. You don't need to get a job. You just need to like focus on your dream. And like, yeah, like if you really, really want to do that, you can, but it's not a failure if you don't. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
think of all the time that you can spend on your passions and hobbies and still have another life. And I think that's kind of what I do. So obviously I'm influenced by my own life, my own ideas, but it's like, um, yeah, I just think there's a lot of people that are worried about like I could be more popular, but I'm not. And I'm thinking, well, what about the music? What about the art? Like, uh, it you're if you can do it and do it well and do it for yourself, that's like the foundation, and then it spreads off of that. That applies whether we're talking about actually being a musician or anything else related to the scene, all that.
Kind of reminds me of like a if you build it, they will come kind of scenario. Because that's how it is for me. Because oh, sorry, I should have turned that off. Oh yeah, my camera, like I don't know what the hell, it just kind of stopped working for a second there. So I'm
Oh,
glad you just kind of roll with it like nothing happened.
oh yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's like I've I was never in the metal scene. I was never in the music scene ever. I was like a hardcore skateboarder, so like I only skateboarded for years. So I kind of like just stuck to my core friends. And then one of my friends, she actually went to some of the underground shows, and I remember that she shared a thing on Facebook and was like, "Oh my God, I Set to Kill is coming to Stockton," and I was like, "Holy fuck, I want to see them play." And
Mhm.
so she's like, "Yeah, hit up this band that's playing it," and it was like a local band from the area, and I was like, "All right, cool." So I hit them up, and yeah, they sold me tickets, and so I went, and oh my God, like my first underground show was pretty freaking badass, man. Like there was a wall of death, and this is I Set to Kill. I don't know if you know who that is, but
It-
um,
yeah.
yeah,
No, that's a good place to start. I can imagine. I'm just imagining how the show would have went.
yeah, it's 2012. I
Yeah.
still have I still have my shirt from 2012, the first show I went to.
Hmm.
And, well, I went to bigger ones before, but I'm talking about like underground. Yeah, they all signed it, and man, it was such a fucking badass show. Like, man, it was so funny because I was so far from like out of like the scene of music, everything that like my friend Monty went on stage to do like a guest vocal spot, and I was like, "Oh my god, Monty, are you even allowed to go up there?" And he was like, "Yeah, what the fuck? Haven't you ever been to a show?" I was like, "No, I've never been to a show, dude. What the fuck?" And he just went up there and did screams for "Darling" during that song, and he just like dove into the fucking pit. Like there was like at least I mean, this is at this place called the P for Police Center. Plea for Peace Center, something like that. It's not around anymore, sadly, but I think it fits probably like 200 people in it, so it's still small, but it's like when you push everything to the side because it was kind of like a warehouse, kind of like you could probably fit 200 people, but there was a good like 100 plus people, so it was pretty fucking badass. And they had a wall of death, and I was like hooked. As soon as that happened, I've never stopped going to metal shows. Like
Well,
I was all about
yeah.
it.
That's one of the good things about metal is you need a room or a warehouse or a parking lot, or you just need an outlet, and then you're set. You don't need all the flashy lights and everything that you might need, and if you're trying to be a pop star, be on TV or any of that. It's like you can just go as
Yeah, I
long
mean, you
as
can just do it in your living room.
if you build it, they will come. It's exactly right.
Yeah, I mean that's like so going back around what I was saying is that it's like since I had like no fucking I had no one of like any scene or anything, and then like it was like a fast forward a couple of years, and then I got invited to my first band, and then I was like, well, I have a bunch of friends, but I don't think they'll go to my shows. Like they're all skateboarders, and yeah, they actually went to my shows, and I was like, what the fuck? Like people actually show up to these things, and then I was in the middle of like I was in the middle of a field, inside of an airplane hangar. That was and we were all wearing fucking matching flannels.
Well, yeah, I mean, how else? How else do you do it?
Yeah, so elegant for 2014.
Hmm.
But yeah, dude, enough about me. This is about you. So tell me about you. What's going on? What do you do?
Well, it all started. Uh, I had this dream. I was gonna make albums. I was gonna
Okay.
write and record things by myself on my own and not care about playing shows or anything. And this was back like it wasn't like that rare, but it was a little weirder, I think, to just be one person writing and recording and do mixing and everything all as one person.
Okay.
Of course, nowadays when I talk about that or like, oh yeah, sometimes I share files with my bandmate over the internet. It's like, yeah, that's how people make music. But I'm old enough that that was like at least sort of unusual. It was more common to do a garage band first and then try to record.
Yeah.
Um, well, over time, I kind of wanted to find out like what's going to be a more interesting way of making metal or metalcore or like it's so easy. I found it was so easy to just make something to play power chords, to do palm muting, to like do the basic formula. I wasn't sure what was going to be the future or like the next thing to be more powerful, more inspirational. And so while I was listening to all this symphonic metal like Nightwish, Epica, Xandria, bands like that, eventually I realized, hey, how come there's so many songs that have keyboardist or they have some synth effect or something, but it's never like the really serious like full orchestra you have in some other genres of metal. And so that's kind of just been my focus for the past few years, is trying to explore various forms of that. My band is like 90% a solo project, and then my friend from high school does the clean singing parts. It's called
Nice.
Iron Krill.
Nice.
And so that's my current obsession. Um, Unsurprisingly, it has not become the next big trend in metalcore, as I predicted that people were going to get more serious with their, oh yeah, you're going to have the strings and then the choirs and this and that. I mean, yeah, there's plenty of like synth sounds and they'll have like one strings, but rarely you'll have like a 3-part or 50-part whatever orchestra playing in the background. So I'm trying to explore that. But after many years of doing this kind of by my own, no one listening to anything I made unless they were already a close friend, I did join a local band, Tragedy by Design, which
Nice.
John talked about. He was I was with him from the start there, and it's such a different experience, like actually having people that are like nearby listen to what you make instead of just like, oh, I got 3 plays in Indonesia today. Nothing wrong with that. I mean, like honestly, I think that was pretty cool, just thinking that like I'm always fascinated by the idea of whether it's somewhere around the world or 50 years from now, like the fact I have something that's like posted, it's online, it's like saved, it's archived, like anyone can just discover it and get something out of it.
Mm-hmm.
But it was cool to see the exact opposite of that with Tragedy by Design. Like we write something and then a few days later we're playing it in front of people and they're moshing. And it's like, wait, I thought it was.
People already know. That's so cool.
I mean, maybe they don't know it, but they don't have to know it to mosh.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, John told a lot of that story. I'm not going to repeat some of those, but I did eventually leave last summer. I think they were just trying to get a little more serious into the real band aspect than I was. But I definitely have no regrets over all the time spent there. It's just like, I don't know. I feel like maybe it's just my own personal style. There's just so much happening inside my head that in order to get it out, I have to like focus on it for like so long. And then suddenly it just finally appears on my computer. I'm like, yes, I did it. And by the time it takes to do that, a real band, whether it's Tragedy by Design or any other, they've already moved on to, they've already written the whole song or just change their idea for what they want it to sound like. Once you get all the feedback from all the other members, it's like, then suddenly it changes so much. I'm like, oh, but I'm still stuck back in the conversation we had 6 months ago. It's a little hard to explain.
Fuck, that sucks. I mean, it's like writer's block, but like not.
Because it's writing, but you're stuck in the past of like I started to write this song when I was in this mood 6 months ago. So now I just need to hold on to that and try and think, okay, what was I thinking 6 months ago? Like, what was my mood? What was that imaginary melody in my head? Then I finally come up with it. And by that time, it's like, no, now everyone else is someplace else. A little hard to explain.
You're like, now I need to go stub my toe again so I can feel anguish.
It's one way of putting it. But no, I, because I have a career which I enjoy and not really looking to drop out to do music full time. And sometimes I just feel surprised when, like I said before, I think many people, whether spoken or unspoken, they think of that as like a failure, or maybe it's just the phrase, don't quit your day job. The fact that that's usually used as like an insult is making me think like, well, wait a minute, but think about all the fun that people have in like with hobbies, and yet music is often seen as like a thing where, because there's the famous or the popular people, that's seen as the goal. And obviously whether it's skateboarding or hiking, skiing, I think I mentioned earlier, like there are professionals, but it's not really seen as something that you would be famous at outside of that field. That's just like kind of the rare exception. Whereas music, it's like if I tell a coworker that I'm in a band, they'll say like, oh, so you're like you must think you're a big deal, huh? And I'm like, no, I just like it's something I do. Like what do you what are you saying?
It's like what? Like, oh man.
Yeah.
Like I told when I told my old coworkers, well, because I have a new job. When I told them that I was in a band, they're like, what do you do? And I was like, oh, I play guitar. And they're like, oh, where do you play at? And I was like, oh, Ace of Spades, Holy Diver, fucking Boardwalk or whatever, Cafe Colonial. So I started with the biggest venue first in SAC besides Golden One Center because that's an actual fucking stadium. Everything else is like venues. And they're like, oh, how much do you get paid? And I'm like, not enough if I'm fucking here having this conversation with you. Like, it doesn't matter how much I get paid. Like, why is that always the first question? How much do you get I hate that question.
It's music or the entertainment arts, like just it's kind of seen as something where the famous ones are the ones like they get famous outside of the field, like pop musicians. Even if you hate them, like you still know who they are because they're famous. So with no matter how underground a genre of music is, that's kind of going to be what someone initially thinks. And yeah, again, I'm not trying to encourage people to not shoot for the stars. I just mean I'm sure there's so many people that are like, well, yeah, like it was fun when I learned to play guitar a few years ago, but now I want to move on. Now I want to go to college. I want to be a doctor or or whatever. I'm an engineer myself. And so like because of that, I'm just gonna have to, put all my stuff away. It was fun while it lasted. And I'm thinking, think of how much time you have in your whole life, even if maybe you do like have to stop playing an active band that plays shows while you're finishing up your law degree, or like, yeah, I know there's some stuff. It's hard to like have a real band at the same time, but that's not like you shouldn't quit because of that. You're able to we're all able to accomplish so much in the course of our lives. And that's maybe I'm just frustrated with the phrase "don't quit your day job." Like, no, I don't want to. I like my job. I like
No, I
like my job and music.
Oh yeah, no, I feel you because like so when I was talking about earlier is like when I quit my old job, everyone actually supported me. Everyone was really cool about it, and they thought it was really cool when I'd be like, "Yeah, I'm going on tour," and they're like, "Well, where are you going?" And I would like show them like, "Oh, I'm going to this venue," and like I'd show them like our little game plan.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Oh my god, that's so cool! Like, I hope you have fun." So like I loved those coworkers. There's one guy I didn't really like, and one kid that I really didn't like because they were kind of fucking dicks. But besides that, they were still okay. Like they were okay, but everyone else was really cool. Anyways, so when I was quitting and one of my coworkers, she was like crying, and she's like, "I'm gonna miss you." Like she's like, "How old are you again?" I was like, "I'm 27." She's like, "All right, you have 3 years to fuck around and just focus on your band, and then when you hit 30, you got to hang it up, or at least find something serious." And I was like, "Thanks, Jules, but I'm going for it. I'm just going for it." And she's like, "Well, good luck. Don't be a stranger." I was like, "Okay."
Oh yeah, there's so much pressure to decide on something early on, like like when you're in high school, like, well, you're gonna go to college, right? Okay, better put all that art stuff away or whatever. I mean, no, you can, yeah, just like you're saying, there's so much more. Sorry, I cut you off.
Continue. No, you're good. I'm just like, I think about it and I'm like, I don't know when the fuck I'm gonna die. Like no one knows when they're gonna die. So it's like, if you want to learn how to skateboard, go fucking learn how to skateboard. You want to play guitar, go learn how to play guitar. For me, like, okay, I'm a good example of this, like, of like doing new things, dude. Like since so when I was 16, I owned a skateboard shop, and I ran that bitch for like 2 years, and then our lease was up, and I wanted to go to school, so I went to college for computers. Then I was like, all right, went from computers, I went back into skateboarding, like full time, and then I got hurt really bad. So I was like, okay, I can't afford to fucking get hurt as bad as I got hurt. Snapped my leg in half, like fucking folded that bitch.
Ooh.
Yeah. So yeah, I was out for months, and so I was like, can't do that no more. So, but that didn't stop me from, pursuing other things. I was like, I'm gonna go to video game design school. But I don't want to be a video game designer, but what I want to be is a script writer. I want to be able to write the stories of the games. And then, so I went to school for that for some time, and I've got my certificate in game script writing. And then I went back to skateboarding because I just always was like, skateboarding's just what I want to do in life. And then, like I told you, I went to that fucking concert, and as soon as I went to that concert, skateboarding out the fucking window. I was like, I only want to do music shit, man. Like, oh my god, it was just, I never went to one, and I was kind of like against going to them for a little while because I've heard a lot of bad things, and I was like, I'm not into that kind of stuff. And then you just never know when something and that's why I tell people all the time, like, especially when my friends are single, I tell them, now that you're single, you're not tied down, go fucking explore your life. Go Go do shit by yourself. Go to like a fucking rave or to a party or go to a show. Travel, because you never know when you're gonna find something that's gonna like make you like, oh my god, I love this. And like, so like it went from the video game thing back to skateboarding and then into music. And now that I'm in music, I'm literally doing. I've been working on vocal stuff. I'm playing guitar. I played bass. Now I'm fucking learning photography and videography. I'm doing podcasting now, and like all this shit that I'm doing, and people are like, "How do you still find time after working 45 or working like 45, 50 hours a week at a full-time job, and you travel to LA every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I fucking do all this." And they're like, "Why?" I'm like, "Because I want to." Like,
Yeah.
and so it's like, and that's why I tell people, if you want to do something, go fucking do it. You want to fucking learn something, go learn how to do it. Like, instead of spending money every day on like a fucking coffee in the morning, spend that money elsewhere. You know, like, you got to financially also be able to support yourself and your dreams or ideas. But
Yeah, it's there's often like kind of an assumption that we have a certain amount of time in our day because the rest is going to be occupied by like recharging on, you have got to rest, you got to sit back and watch TV or just, scroll social media or whatever. And yet if that other thing you're thinking of doing is something you actually enjoy, then that is recharging, even if to others it might sound like a lot of work to go and spend that extra time, late at night working on some passion of yours. I mean, that gives you energy. So it's not necessarily a contradiction. Sometimes adding more things to your schedule, it has a counterintuitive effect. It actually helps you like do them. I mean, obviously there's a limit to that, but if you just stick with, okay, I have the job and then I come home and I like prepare for the job the next day, pretty soon you're going to think that it takes 8 hours to recharge. And then like, well, how do I add to that? So yeah, no, I definitely respect your your story there. I was hearing about you flying to LA, and at first I thought that was crazy. I for work I used to be more involved in. Well, I'm from Seattle area, but I did sales in California, and so I was traveling a lot, and I flew. It was only just once, but I like flew into LA and I was driving around there, and then I flew to Sacramento, and then I drove to San Jose, and I flew back in 1 week. And I was just completely exhausted. And then I was thinking, like, how do people do this full time? Because I mean, we have like field salespeople where they do that all the time. Um, so, but then I hear you saying like, oh yeah, we just fly down to LA, practice, fly back. I'm like, what? You can just do that? So,
yeah, well, okay, so we don't fly. Okay, so we fly our drummer up here to
mhm,
Sacramento, um, because we leave his drum kit and so he has two drum kits. Well, technically he has one, but the other one is our other. So our bass player, he also plays drums, and he brought his drum kit over to stay at our house. So we fly our drummer up because it's just him by himself. So instead of him putting all that money into his gas tank, he flies up, and we all kind of like pitch in for his flight, and then he'll fly back whatever like 2 days later. And then so for us, which we're doing this weekend, as soon as our bass player gets off work, we're driving down to fucking LA all night,
mhm,
staying till Sunday morning, and then getting up at 9 in the morning, and then driving fucking back to Sac.
mhm.
And there, there's three of us in the car driving, so we split the gas, and it only takes like $30 to fill his tank, so it's like $10 a person there and $10 a person back. It's super cheap, but yeah, it's the cost of having members fucking everywhere.
What's the cost of having something that works? I mean, if the member is right, it shouldn't matter too much where they're from. Or yeah, it was interesting hearing the stories about like the band member changes, and whenever you hear like whenever someone has one of their favorite bands changes a member, there's always the anxiety over like, is it going to sound the same? I want it to listen. I want to be able to listen to their next album and get the exact same experience I had listening to the previous album, which obviously doesn't make any sense. But I think if we as listeners take an approach more to how we as how the band members think, and thinking, oh, this works just as well or works better or whatever, you're going to get more out of it. I yeah, I'm looking forward to your guys' next stuff. I only had a chance to listen to like a few of the a few of the stuff you guys already had posted, but I heard because I heard your forgot which one it was. Maybe it was with John. You were saying, oh, like our former vocalist had such a specific style, and then all the like rest of the music was written around that. So you, with a new vocalist, you have to kind of change the music around that. I think as a listener, it's harder to understand that. Like
Yeah.
the listener will be just focused on the vocals, and then only if they're like really, really a guitarist are they going to think about, oh, the guitar, it's in a different key.
Oh my god,
Yeah.
that's so funny because so I've written most of the band's songs up to this point. Most. Some of the songs were written by other people, not taking credit for all of them or anything. But
Mm-hmm.
instrumental wise, guitars and stuff, that's what I did for the first, couple songs. And I was actually learning guitar as I was writing these songs. So key and structure and all that shit was so new to me. And my our other guitarist, Hector, he's so fucking good, and he knows theory, like he's amazing. And he fucking sends me these memes all the time because he knows that I was learning how to write these songs. So when I was showing them to
Yeah.
him, he was just like, what? Why are you doing this? That doesn't make any sense. What key is this in? What tuning is it? So now he always sends me memes making fun of like how I used to write songs, but I'm just like, yeah, well, I'm not writing songs no more like that, so fuck off.
Yeah, there's a good and a bad side to using too much theory. I mean, like when I started playing guitar, not saying it was the best. However, I did get some good results from not knowing anything. I mean,
Hmm.
there's a certain magic that comes from just caring about what it sounds like or about what you're feeling when you start to play. And then over time, the numbers, like which frets you're using, start to make sense. So I mean, yeah, I'd taken like piano lessons in the past, but in terms of guitar, I, started with just whatever fret, chromatic scale, whatever you want to call it. And then over the years, over the decades, you could say, I started playing guitar in 2006. So um, over the time, I kind of gotten into more of like, I would only write things in certain scales, and I would recognize that and like, why can't I just play the more interesting stuff that I used to? Why do I like I used to have all these weird solos that would like kind of sound like maybe they're in a key, but then they have these interesting notes that kind of mix it up a bit. Now when I try that, it just sounds too like it's on purpose. Like, oh, you just purposely used the wrong note there. Why would you do that? Why wouldn't you just use the right note?
Or you're
Um,
aware.
yeah, I'm too aware of it. So that actually is why it brings me to my current fascination, current project, which Sean briefly mentioned. Um, so pretty much everyone, okay, not everyone, it's very, very, very common in metal, pop, country, like just Western music in general. Everyone uses this rule where there has to be 12 notes per octave. Every guitar, every piano, there's just 12 frets or there's 12 keys or whatever. Going back to when I first started playing guitar, I was like, but why does it have to be in these places? Like you put frets wherever you want and you get different intervals between notes, different chords, different whatever. And I always thought it was weird that sure you have plenty of people out there saying, okay, I'm not going to use the major scale, minor scale. I'm going to use all these more unusual scales. I'm going to use the Hungarian minor scale, or I'm just going to use chromatic. I'm going to use all 12 notes. And I'm just thinking, but why are they those 12? Like there are these different chords you can make if you just put the frets in different places, or
Yeah.
if your piano is different. And so that's what I'm working on now. Is I had a guitar and bass made with 19 frets per octave. I'm not going to get into any of the ultra nerd math reasons why 19 is like a good number, but it's no, it's interesting because it forces your brain to think differently about like you expect a certain pattern to work and then it doesn't work because it just sounds like it's out of tune. Like your ears are just so used to hearing like, oh yeah, that chord has to sound a certain way. How come
Yeah.
you're doing it like out of tune? It's
Makes
almost
sense.
like makes you relearn music theory or makes you realize that music theory is just doesn't exist. Music theory is just how you write it down. It's like music is the language, like the spoken language.
Yeah.
And then if you're trying to make a record of that and write it down, then you have to use those music theory terms. I'm like, well, I guess you could call that a chord. That's a third. That's a fifth. But if you do something different, like whether it's 19 notes per octave or any other microtonal or macrotonal or whatever, I mean, at first it might sound crazy, or not crazy. It just sounds like hard to become popular, hard to become catchy. But no, as a musician though, I think it's pretty fulfilling because it's like then you're not you're stuck in that rut. It forces you out of writer's block, I think.
I really hope that when people listen to this, they're gonna know exactly what you're talking about. Because some of the things you just said, I'm like, I don't recognize that scale. I don't
Well,
recognize that one. I don't recognize that one. Okay, that one sounds a little familiar. I'm pretty shitty at guitar, but like,
oh no, the names of the scales don't matter, and but that's kind of why I mentioned them because they're not real. They're just names of like, oh, if you have a certain like if tuning and you put your frets in this place and then you play the ratio between this fret and that fret, you get a chord. That chord is called a third. Well, guess what? Everything I just said is meaningless. It,
oh
it,
my
it
god,
literally doesn't mean anything. And
just
yet,
power chord everything. Power chord.
okay, that's not what I meant, but
Turn it into. I know, I'm just joking because
but
yeah.
but there's like, okay, the original like reason why music started getting standardized a certain way to like, oh, if you're making a piano, make sure it has A sharp, B, C. Like the whole reason that started was because of some like really, really technical math stuff in like how the different notes reinforce each other when you play chords. There's some logic to it, but it's like it's really, really technical. And so
Mhm.
that's why it surprised me that in genres like metal or hardcore, where often you're specifically trying to be more dissonant, or
Yeah.
or even like in guitar, often I'm not playing a chord, I'm just playing notes in quick succession back and forth. So that
Yeah.
interval, it doesn't need to meet any of these weird harmony things. Like I'm just surprised it's not more common to specifically try and use alternate tuning systems and don't worry, I'm not. I'll try not to use too many. Uh, a
No, you
harmonic
can't.
minor Hungarian, yeah.
And all it's so it's totally cool. So I have a quick question. So what do you do now? Because you're not in tragedy by design anymore. So what do you do now?
Mostly I'm focusing on again, it's I can't truly call it a solo project because my friend does all the clean vocals, but it's basically a solo project. It's called Iron Krill. It's what
Okay.
I've been releasing my music as since high school, which at this point was like 12 years ago.
Damn.
And yeah, we've played shows. He actually we're both from Seattle. He actually went to college in Iowa, and now he lives in Denver. So, but it was funny. Occasionally, when he would like be home for the holidays, we would play a show for like a couple friends and like family, and we it's we don't have. Okay, I don't claim to be a real band because I mean, yeah, we use like the software for the drums and all the orchestra and everything. So
Yeah.
there's a lot more on the backing track than there should be. Like anytime a band starts playing and you realize they don't have a drummer, they just put it on the backing track. The anyone else who's there immediately takes you a little bit less seriously, and like I don't judge them for that. Like yeah, I get it. My phone is my drummer. However, I mean it's still fun because like I was saying earlier, if it's a hobby and not trying to become famous overnight, you
That
do
doesn't
what you
matter.
got to do.
Yeah.
Um, and so the fact that I have such a dictatorship over Iron Krill means I can do these things which might be ridiculous in a so-called real band, like whether it's this tuning type stuff or like on our last album I had a few guest singers that sing in different languages,
That's cool.
and you, it's like cool, but at the same time there wasn't like a real reason other than I just thought like, hey, let me try this. um, and then and like for example, I also got like my mom, my sister, and my girlfriend are all like featured guests on different parts. And
That's
don't get the wrong
amazing.
idea, it sounded good, but if I were in like a really really professional band that the goal is like a management saying, okay, we gotta do what's going to be the best from a objective type standpoint. Oh, we're going to get a guest vocalist. Okay, let's hire a professional vocalist. And I was seeing that a lot in Tragedy by Design, not with hiring vocalists. I mean, with like the production or the songwriting or things. It was like, or like what studio would go to. It was always like, okay, we need to find out what's going to be the best, and it had the good results. But it was kind of the opposite of what I was doing with Iron Krill, where like, see, Colin, my bandmate, he for a long time he's been making like fractal artwork, just using different computer programs to make really weird looking images, and we just use that as our album artwork. And again, from an objective standpoint of like, okay, so if we were to survey the metal community, like what do you expect in a album cover? They probably wouldn't put like what we ended up using as album artwork. But because it was like part of the fun, like, oh, we can just do the album artwork ourselves. I do all the mixing, mastering, whatever. I don't go to any studio for that. And yeah, I have my family do and girlfriend do guest parts. Like that's just part of the fun, different from what you would do in a so-called real or like professional band. So it's like a different, just like a different interest.
No, but you know what?
Yeah.
The thing is if you listen to the song we have, "Party with Bears," there's all the parts where you could hear people like, cause like, so there's two parts in the song. So the halfway point shows like a party happening. You could hear like glasses clinking. You can hear people talking and laughing, and then at the end, it's like kind of like the same thing but a continuation. Literally, the last thing that's on the track is you could hear my girlfriend and our producer. He was in the room with us. We were all like touching like these like fucking shot glasses together that he had, and we were just laughing, making these noises, like ripping a bong and like smoking, like literally having like a little party in his vocal booth. And the last thing you hear my girlfriend is, "Ho ho ho, I'm so fucked up," or something like that. But like you can't tell it's her, but it's so funny because like even like in the I think it's like in the break center part, there's a part where Jordan, our old vocalist, he did this like high pitched girl voice. He's like, "Oh my god," and like you could fucking hear it so good. It's so funny. If you're just ever listening to it, you'll hear him go, "Oh my god, Becky," or some shit. He just
Oh yeah, it's great to have those Easter eggs.
yeah, it's just funny little things, and I feel like it's appropriate. I mean, look at A Day to Remember. They have dogs barking in most of the Common Courtesy record. You could hear a dog barking throughout the record. Some people just leave this stuff on there, or like you could hear like a stick hit the rim at the end of the song because they're done, doing their take, and it's still left in the track, and they just leave it in there. They're like, yeah, I want it. I don't want to fucking touch with it. Like leave it with those extra little things, So I mean, you having your girlfriend, your mom, or your friends or whatever in your tracks, you're still professional. Those are just those are the effects. Those are the that's what makes the song so great. So I mean, you're professional.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, well, I mean, like I was saying, I feel like there's a really low bar in order to create a song that is, well, I don't know, personally, maybe it's just because it's what I've played so much, but I think making a metalcore song is fairly straightforward. Like if you just want to make a song for the sake of it. And so whatever you can do to make it unique, whether that's something to do with the instrumentation, like my thing about symphonic and orchestral sounds, or something weird with the tuning, or, the vocals or whatnot. I mean, just go for it. And if you ask someone what they think about it, or like just the idea, like, hey, what would it be? What do you think it would sound like if I did this? I mean, they're probably going to tell you it's going to sound weird because it's not like normal. So just go with your idea, and if it doesn't work out, you had fun. It's like
after this, I'll show you the instrumental piece, like a short bit of like the new song that we're writing, because I would love your take on it, because you're so involved with writing metalcore and like all that extra stuff on the background. I have a couple things that I would love to get your input on for the song, because I don't want to go too much into it, but like there's just a part that's in it that's like we have to recreate, and I'm like, fuck, I almost don't know how to recreate it, and it's instrumentally, but yeah, I'll have to talk to you about it
I mean,
later.
like
But
how to recreate the guitar sounds. You
no,
just
no, no. I don't. I'm not gonna say what it is. I'm not gonna say what
okay.
it is. Just know it would become whenever we play it live, it's gonna be a backtrack piece. So that's
Hmm.
what it's gonna be. But it is to special instrument. That's all I'm gonna say. The podcast only gets
Interesting.
that
Well,
much.
potentially
Yeah, I'll
I'll
show
help you
you.
out with some of my software. We'll use that, and then we'll do some weird sampling and pitch shifting, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, like you'll as soon as I show it to you, you'll go, oh, you'll know exactly what the heck I'm talking about. It's just
Hmm.
trying to beat around the bush is hard right now.
Oh, it's a sousaphone. I know it.
Yeah. um. So okay, so are you in any other projects, or is that the only one you're up into right now?
That's the only real one where I actually make music that I think would be interesting to listen to. I so I've always had a fascination with like kind of joke or parody projects. I mean, some of
Okay.
my favorites are I don't know if you know Austrian Death Machine,
Oh
you
yes.
or
Get to the chopper.
Bro Job or
Bro
I don't know
job. Yeah. I
or
saw them in SAC 2019, I think.
I was very surprised they went on a tour, and then I realized well maybe it's because they were playing a Seattle show at like 3 p.m. on a weekday, and I
What
was
the
thinking
hell?
wait, maybe I'm misremembering that, but it was pretty early.
Yeah.
I was like, um, yeah, or some of the like amidst the graves demons rectangles. I don't know if
No, I haven't heard of that one.
okay, this one guy he has like 6 different joke projects, and you can just tell based off of the band name what genre they're making fun of.
Mm-hmm.
Like rectangles, it's making fun of gent bands, and
True.
amidst the graves demons making fun of metalcore. Vermicide violence making fun of suicide
That
silence.
sounds that Vermicide Silence actually sounds familiar.
Vermicide violence. Um,
Violence?
yeah, and then let's see, the pop punk version, Sunrise Skater Kids.
Oh wait,
Um,
that sounds like Jared DeLonge's thing.
that's how you pronounce his name. Okay, Alanji. Okay,
DeLonge. Yeah.
that way I made sure you said it, not me, because I didn't want to say like
Oh,
Alange and it was wrong. Okay,
I think it's Alonji. I don't care. It's
yeah,
Jared Alonji. Like
and then the
whatever.
emo one, Canadian softball.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so I wish I could be more like that, but I mean over the years I've had a number of like complete joke bands. My current one now, I decided to troll the band Scythe Gang 666. Like a extreme death trap is how they describe themselves. So I
Okay.
decided to come up with Nice Gang 777.
Nice.
I don't expect to do any more than the one song that I made, but theoretically that's kind of like it's not like every now and then I just make these weird joke clips or something that aren't really tied to a project. Or who knows, maybe I will make another Nice King 777. They have not sent me any cease and desist letters. So we'll
I think you'll be okay. Like that's funny though.
yeah. But no, that's just kind of my attitude towards music is yeah, I have some songs which are on paper they're serious, like the lyrics are serious, but I don't have a serious attitude towards it. So, you know, like if we do play it live, we'll play with inflatable guitars. Like I don't care. I mean, often when playing in front of people, I think there's probably a very high percentage of people in front of me who can play guitar. So they might not really be interested in me sitting here playing like well. I may as well make a lot of mistakes because I'm like, you know, rolling on the floor or something. And
Yeah.
so I'll do that. And then band members will say, hey, you made a lot of mistakes in that last song. I think you're gonna need to practice, you know, the way you're holding your guitar, you're gonna have to adjust to that because you're getting a lot of feedback. I'm like, wait, think about them, the people that are watching. Do you think they care about, well, he was going for the eighth fret and then he kind of missed, and so there was a
Yeah.
little bit of a wobble. I don't think they care. We're playing for people that are listening, not for ourselves.
Yeah.
Well, okay, maybe that contradicts everything I'm saying about how do music for yourself, but you know what I mean. You know what I
Well,
mean.
I'm dude, it's all about when you're live, you play your best, the best you can, and you 100% FC that bitch, you know? I mean, and if you don't, like, the performance is where you're going to get your 100% FC. Like, it don't matter. Like, dude, I swear, I think every single set I've ever fucking played ever, I've fucked up every
Hmm.
single fucking time. And it's not because I don't know how to play my song. It's because I'm so fucking into the show. I'm so into the performance that I forget to fucking do a certain note or do a certain thing. I'm just so fucking into it. And like no one ever fucking gives a shit, dude, because they're too busy being wowed. Like that's my biggest thing is the wow factor is like my favorite compliment that I've ever gotten ever, and I'll never forget this, is my friend Austin Frury from he has a podcast called Stay Noisy,
Mhm.
and they're from SAC. Him and Kyle, those are the guys that run it. But he went to our last headliner at a venue in SAC called Holy Diver, and he told me, so like we're headlining whatever, and it's I believe it was Saturday night, or it was a Friday or Saturday night, but it was fucking great, man. Like it does suck because we played the same night as Silverstein, and they played fucking like 5 blocks over, but we
Mhm.
still had like over 200 people show up,
Mhm.
so it was like full packed fucking room no matter what. But he said that he was like, man, when you guys fucking went on stage and the lights dimmed and everything like fucking went all red, because it was like red lights everywhere, like that lit up our stage. He was like, dude, he's like, I swear I thought I was watching the fucking Devil Wears Prada or some shit, man, because we had like this minute long like carnival evil theme song like that like does like a build up. It's actually an unreleased song still. We haven't released it, and we've been playing it for the last like fucking 2 years.
Yeah.
And yeah, man, he told me, he was like, I thought you guys were like the biggest fucking band, man. You guys were badasses, and like he's like, man, he's like, you guys literally like proved that you guys are like a force to be reckoned with kind of thing. Like that's how I took it. But when he, like I said, when he said that, I was just like, man, like I want that. I want to do that again. I want to give people that wow factor. I want to give people that like, dude, when I saw this band, they fucking made me like a fucking fan. Like that's my whole thing about music and like performing is just leave people wowed, leave people with, damn, I fucking slept on this band. Like there are so many bands that I've seen that I'm just like, damn, like that was it. That was their set, and I'm like, all right, that's cool. But then there's some bands that I will see every time, like Attila, Emir, fucking. I'll see, Slipknot, fucking. I'll see Bring Me the Horizon. I'll see fucking As Blood Runs Black if they ever come back. Knock on wood, wherever it is. Like, I mean, if they would come back, Ice at the Kill. Like, there's these bands that I will see every single time they come through because they put on a great show. Not because their name, but because when I go to these shows and I see them play, it's like absolutely amazing. After the Burial, Spite. Oh my god, I fucking love Spite. Like, I'm wearing a fucking Outsider shirt.
Yep.
That's Darius's fucking brand. Like, there are bands that make me wow, and like that's my whole performance aspect is just making people just go, wow, that was amazing. Or I mean, even if we fuck up, as long as people have fun. Like, I don't want to fuck up, but
Yeah, you don't go up to them after the show and say, "Hey, like that was pretty good," but there was this one time you were trying to do like a hammer on, and then you actually
you did a pull off instead of hammer on. Oh, sorry, I didn't fucking expert this shit on Guitar Hero, even though I was just talking about Guitar Hero today.
Mm.
But
Yeah, it's the
do you,
downside of practicing too much in your room by yourself is you think that's what the performance aspect is going to be. That's got to get in front of people. Yeah.
oh yeah, well that's the thing is that like I've gone to shows where I just see a guitar player just sitting there in one spot the whole time doing these fucking crazy ass scales, and I'm like, okay, I think it sounds beautiful and I love it, but you're boring to watch.
And like just backtrack that and okay, not don't actually do that,
Well,
but
no,
you
because
may as well.
well, okay, so and this is my purely my opinion, but a way to save that situation of like someone going, oh, this is boring, is use the other members in the band for performance aspect. So, for instance, whenever we play shows and Hector would solo, I would always remove myself from the situation because that's his moment. So I would make him get in front of me and I would stand behind, and I would, and Jordan would be like, Hector Garcia, everybody, and then he would fucking be soloing, and like the lights on him, and it's all about him, and people know this is where my eyes need to be. But when you have, someone dead center in the front the whole time, just in front of the crowd, just doing this and not moving, and every other member is not doing anything, it's just a boring show. No one's jumping, no one's fucking running around. Like, even if you have small stage space, it doesn't matter. Use what you got and make the best of it, but move.
Yeah, I think sometimes I'm a little like too aggressive at that. Like, I'll move for the sake of moving, and people are just like, wait, why did he leave the stage? He didn't even go like out to the crowd. He's just like hiding behind an amplifier or something. But there's that mystery.
There's that mystery. Am I here? Am I not? I don't know. Let me ask myself.
There was this one time years ago when an unnamed band member of mine at the time, different from Colin, we just because we're gonna make fun of him. That's the only reason. So I had brought all this like inflatable guitars and I think some other toy instruments, and we had some other guy who wasn't going to be playing officially with us, but just like kind of joke around on stage with us. And then like, because I didn't tell him about it before, I just kind of said, oh, by the way, we're going on in 5 minutes. We're gonna mess with all this like joke stuff, all this like fake instruments. And he was like, no, if we do that, people in the crowd, they're gonna think we're idiots. And I'm like, yeah, we are idiots.
Yeah, we are idiots.
We may as well be honest. What we ended up doing, we didn't use most of the fake stuff, but the other guy who wasn't really in the band, he set up a hi-hat and nothing else. And then it was funny because the sound guy was like trying to mic up the hi-hat, and he was like, no, you don't even need to mic this. Like, I'm barely gonna play it. And then what he did is he just stood. Well, first he laid down for the first song, then he sat up and read a book for the next song, and then for the next song he stood there with like one drumstick above the hi-hat, just waiting. And when the song ended, he just hit it once. And when we stopped playing the song, people were like, yeah, whatever. And then he hit the hi-hat, people were cheering for him. Yeah, I mean, it was a joke funny, but they paid attention, right? Yeah. Right?
That sounds cool, though. Like, actually, that was really funny. Like, I thought it, like, as you're, like, talking about this, I'm, like, in my mind, I'm thinking, how funny would it be to play a song and everyone takes their instruments off? Guitars, even the drummer is kind of, like, pushes his drum set to the side, and he just pulls out this little tiny, like little trainer kit that's super small, and then, like, we readjust the mics to be to the proper height, and then like all the people that are playing instruments literally just pull out all these fake blow up guitars, and then so it's all backtracked, all the guitars, but it's like we just pretend like we're fucking playing a song. That would be absolutely hilarious. Like, that's fucking smart. Like, that's cool, because I know like when we did one of our shows, when we did one of our first tours, we had like beach balls and shit, and like those Chris, like, what are those, like those poppers that like shoot confetti everywhere?
Party
we had
poppers.
those, and like we had like I think there was like a smoke machine, maybe not a smoke. I think there was a smoke machine or something like a smoke machine that was there. There's all kinds of shit, man, and like all these fucking lasers and like everything's going on, and I'm just like, people love this shit. I love this shit. It makes me feel great. So like that's a great fucking idea. Like, that's smart.
Yeah, if you want to pay too much, if you as the musician are so focused on just how it sounds, you would be backtracking everything. Like, you would just be playing the song over the speaker. So I may as well do something.
Yeah.
No, I've tried doing the inflatable or fake instrument thing with playthrough videos a bit, because sometimes I think playthrough videos are like, they take themselves too seriously, because you can easily just have a video of yourself playing, but you're not using audio from that video. You can just use the audio of the song and then play it. So every once in a while I've made fun of that with a short clip where I'm doing a playthrough of some solo, and then I like look over and it's not plugged in or something, and then just post it.
Oh man, dude, I thought about it, like, literally as you're talking about that, I'm literally imagining like, if you posted like if someone made a YouTube channel that was purely just cover songs of like using like those small little like inflatable guitars, and like they're just like literally they're nowhere where frets need to be, or like notes are like actually are, and I imagine all the fucking gatekeeping fucking dickhead elitists that are gonna be like, you don't even know how to fucking play real guitar. And then you'd go and post the real video of you playing the song, and they'd be like, oh, that's still fucking fake. You suck. You're not fucking good. Blah blah blah. I'm just like, just enjoy the video. What the fuck, asshat?
Yeah, there's some people think that there's like that there is a gate that needs to be kept. That there's a reason for being a gatekeeper. Like it's just art. I mean, like if you're a band that's trying to seek out what support band you want on your tour, then yeah, you have the right to like choose who to do that, but you don't have to like go seeking out musicians that you think aren't worthy of having views on YouTube or something. Like just let them do their thing.
Yeah.
No, that's the way to do it. This is a little different from that, but one example of people not really getting the joke, because I mean, I think I enjoy when everything possible is a joke, whether it's the music or the performance or whatever. So at a different show, our last song, everything kind of fades out except for the singers. And so I stopped playing guitar, the bassist stops playing bass, but he's still singing by the mic stand. And so I stopped playing, started putting all my stuff away, started putting the amp away, went up to the bassist who was still singing at the mic stand and like took the bass off of him and like started unplugging stuff and moving stuff around and just purposely like being silly about like, oh yeah, just taking this down, making a lot of noise in the background while they're singing this calm like harmony. Someone else who was there, I think he was in the band we were playing next, that was playing next, he was like, hey, what are you doing? Like they're still playing. I'm like, yeah, I know, I'm in the band. I'm just joking. So he thought that I was like with the venue or someone just like trying to like, hey, stop playing. Let me turn your guitar off.
Fuck.
Like, no,
Yeah,
it's a joke.
Yeah, no, I mean, we don't ever, I don't think we've ever done anything in that sort. I feel like the only times we've ever done anything silly is like move our drummer's stuff while he's playing it. I'll just like fucking push it a little bit farther so he has to reach farther away to fucking hit something. But I mean, it would never be, I don't know, I would never really sabotage our performance just because I care too much about it. Like, as much as I'm like, oh yeah, having fun, fucking around, jumping around, and forgetting shit, I'm also very, like, I'm very serious on, like, certain things being certain things. So, like, oh man, okay, so for, this is a good example. In in a unreleased song, but we've played it live a few times, so there are people that know about the song. There's a part where it's like a drum solo. And then there's a, like, you know, it's like a breakdown, and then when it comes back in, like, while the breakdown's happening, it, like, does, like, the guitars are supposed to stop, and then it's silent, and all you hear is the double bass, you know, like, you know, it's just really fast double bass, and then come back in, dun, 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 and then, you know, double bass again, and then a fucking snare bomb. So I'm like really particular, like, okay, so we made this specific spot for the song to be like this, so we're gonna play it like that. And like, we had a member that would fucking play like do like some scaly shit over it that's really fast. And although it sounded cool, I was just like, you're taking away from that other person's spotlight kind of thing, you know, like that, like, and I like writing songs where each member has like a point of where they get to showcase something of theirs. Like, I like writing that way. And when someone else, it's like if someone was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna write a solo, and then someone else starts fucking soloing while they're soloing, it's like, why?
Yeah, there's so much happening at once. I mean, one reason why I like shows, of course, but one reason why it's sometimes it's like so much to take in for me, I don't know how to explain it, is like when everyone's playing like this, the main core of their songs, like I can't really hear anything, even if the sound is really good, even if the sound guy's perfect. It's like it's just so loud, and there's so much that then when the song like breaks down into, oh now it's just drums, oh now it's just guitar, it's like, wait, wow, they can actually play. They're pretty good. And so like yeah, I think it's done as overkill when you have the dueling musicians, or like when in the studio version of the song, it's a guitar solo, but then the singer is like talking to the crowd while it's happening. So it's like, wait, I can't hear anything. It's just like a whole lot of noise. I wanted to finally have no vocals just for a little bit, you know.
You're like, just play the answer, man. I just want to hear that
Yeah.
music. No, that makes a lot of sense. Um, yeah, I don't know. I think it just reminds me of just like the things that we've dealt with is with members doing stuff. But I mean, like, I don't know. I like to, like I said, I like to write where like people could showcase something in the song, because then it
Mhm.
also makes them feel good that they're doing something. Because then everyone's chanting for them or yelling for them, like, yeah, whatever. It's like giving giving my band members a spotlight for a moment that can make them feel really good about themselves and remind themselves of why they're doing that, why they're on stage. Because people get so discouraged and shit while they're on tours or whatever. But sometimes when you're on stage and you have to do like that solo or that double bass kick or whatever that fucking shit is, or that scream, when it's just you in your moment for 5 seconds and you come back in full force with the band, it's like it's
They
almost like
notice
yeah, you're like, cool,
you're
like,
actually there and not just banned.
yeah. No, okay, okay. So I'm gonna let you go pretty soon though, because I am getting hungry and I gotta take my girlfriend to go get food too.
Mhm.
But I like to ask, what are your top three favorite breakdowns ever, ever,
Overall, despite
overall?
the difficulty of the question, I do have to go with one of the classics, like one that got me into hardcore type music, old Norma Jean,
Oh, nice.
from the song "Memphis Will Be Laid to Waste."
Oh, nice, nice.
There's several breakdowns in that song, of course, but the "Now You're Doing the Waltz with Your Murderer," that one's just the ultimate classic. Um, Probably the craziest mosh pits I've been to, even when it's been, decades after they released the song, and then, they're no longer a very famous band, but when they show up, like, yeah, the hardcore fans are all there, and it's the craziest you've ever seen. Um, and then I don't know. I think a lot of times with other songs, I don't really think of the breakdowns as standalone. Like, I can't really decide, is that technically a breakdown or is that like a, you know, post verse, like, so sometimes I can't, like, it seems weird to pick out. I had a lot of trouble deciding because I had heard you'd asked people before. I was like, okay, I think because it really stands out to me, Anodyne C by As They Lay Dying.
Okay, okay.
So even though, like, it has a really obvious buildup, a breakdown's coming, somehow it just kind of surprises me with its speed. Like, I'm not a drummer. I don't really know tempo that well. I don't know if it's actually double time or it just makes me think it is. But normally it's like, oh, it really breaks down, as the name suggests. And that one, it's like, wait, it's going fast. It's like you thought it was gonna like go into a chug, and instead it just like probably not even that crazy. It's not a very long breakdown. It doesn't sound like it's trying to be anyone's favorite breakdown. It's just there, but it
Okay.
just like it sticks in my head. Um, and then I got to move for the last one, last but not least, probably move out of like what would typically be considered. Well, there's probably not much debate over whether it's a breakdown, but it's not metalcore. I would go with Baby Metal and
Nice.
their song "Negetsune," if that's
Oh yeah, I
correct
know that song.
pronunciation. There's so many bands that are trying to be that, like, their goal is to be as heavy as possible, and all of their songs they have the heaviest breakdown ever. Baby Metal, they just have this one part that's like, hey, let's be heavy for a few seconds, and it's just heavier than anything any of those bands have ever put out, and it's just incredible. That's probably one of the only songs I've listened to and then afterwards just like been unable to move. Like, I actually just couldn't move for a few minutes. I was like, why didn't I know about this before? What do I need to do to understand this besides play this another 100 times? Happened to me a couple times, but like for the longest time, I had this idea in my head of what Baby Metal would sound like instead of actually listening to it. And I listened
Yeah.
to it and I'm like, whoa. Not to mention the whole, like, that breakdown specifically. I mean, it also embedded within it, it has like a more like a traditional or a classical, I don't know, like Japanese tune in it.
Yeah.
Like, and it's just like, wait, this, like, it's all so perfectly produced and in everything. Um, so yeah, it just impossible to get out of my head.
Have you seen them live yet?
No, I haven't seen them live. I,
Dude,
I
they're great.
I'm missing
They're
out.
fucking awesome. I saw them 2019 Aftershock,
Mm-hmm.
and they were really great. Like, They played all they played that whole, they played I think they played all their big hits on that at that show because their set was like 40 minutes. Yeah, their set and Bring because it was them and then Bring Me played right after. I think it was like right after, but on a different stage. And man, oh man, I want to fucking play a show so bad. Fuck.
Yeah, but
Makes me
it's
so sad.
everything that just so fast, or like it sounds faster than it is. I don't know how to describe it.
For
Something for baby metal just in general. Like,
yeah, did you listen to the fuck? What is it called? The one that they did with Bring Me on the last record.
I actually didn't. I have a like kind of guilty confession where people are always shocked how little music I've listened to. It's kind of hard to explain. Like there's many, like not even this, like even the classics of the genres I listen to. People are like, how come you don't know them? I'm like, oh, I don't know. I've probably heard them in the background.
No.
I'm so lazy when it comes to listening to music. I like being able to like listen to something over and over again and memorize it basically before I bother to, to branch out.
All right, I'm literally. Do you have Spotify?
Yes.
All right, I'm literally gonna send it to you right now
Okay.
so that you could. It's Baby Metal and Bring the Horizon, and it's heavy. It's fucking great.
Mhm.
Like it's a great song. But how can people find you if you wanted to get people to listen to your music? How could they find it?
Well, the number one way would be just search for the band Iron Krill. That's Krill as in Krill, not Iron Kill, which I know sounds more metal. And we've had people like announce that, okay, and coming up next, we got Iron Kill. Like, no, it's Krill. So yeah, we're on, Spotify, Apple, whatever. I heard your very first podcast with Austin, and he had his website, and I realized, you know what? That's pretty professional. What if someone just wants to talk to me about this whole microtonal guitar stuff? They don't want to, listen to all the symphonic metalcore that Iron Curl has to offer. Well, hey,
Yeah,
CharlieGarciaMusic.com. That's all
nice.
me. It has all my links, all my whatever. And yeah, it's really been a fun experience. You have so much insight, so much like your take on metal or the scene or on people is just so refreshing. I think some people take themselves too like so serious. Like, okay, I don't know how to explain it. I very much enjoyed talking to you.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm trying to do this like double piece thing, and I'm like holding a freaking hair tie. As you can see, I have long hair, so I have fucking hair ties all around my house.
And as the people listening to the podcast will think, okay, well, I can't see that sign anyway. So
Oh yeah, right. I do that all the time. I'll be like showing someone something, and I'm like, wait, the people on the fucking that are listening can't see this shit. Like, the fuck am I doing?
yeah, that's why I brought my 19 frets per octave guitar out here in the background for those of you listening on Spotify to not be able to see.
It's red. It looks red.
Oh, it's supposed to be purple. It's the lighting, but yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, I mean, that was my first
Okay.
guess because usually everyone that I've talked to on like a camera thing, they like show me something. I'm like, that looks like this color. Like, it's the other color, and I'm like, ah, fuck.
Yeah,
But
what's your deal?
yeah, right. Don't hang up.